Hey, Todd, what are you doing?
I'm watching old Oktane highlights. Look at that stage.
Like Experian.
Look at that production.
Sophisticated.
It's such a shame we can't do that for Oktane this year.
Well, I don't know about all that, but it's Oktane20 Live, so you gotta get going.
That's right. We gotta do this. We gotta make it happen. Welcome to Oktane20 Live. We're thrilled to be here with you on the stream today. While it's not the show we hoped we would produce for you, we're gonna make the best of it. And I jokingly told the team that it'll probably be better quality than the first Oktane we produced, Oktane20. The good news is while we're sheltered in place here in San Francisco with my family, we have great Wi-Fi, we have a lot of space to bring you a great show, and my family has assured me they're not gonna interrupt our filming at all. So let's get started. The first thing Scott, come on buddy, you're supposed to be upstairs on your Zoom. It's school time. Scott, did you log in? All right, buddy. We got Julie over there. So I had a debate about what to wear this year at Oktane. This is my Oktane suit. It's probably not appropriate this year. But I did put on my Oktane socks, and I'm gonna wear my lucky Oktane shoes. I've worn these shoes for a couple past Oktanes, including last year. That went well. Make sure I look okay. Perfect. All right. We're gonna do this. It's gonna be a great show.
Technology is powerful. It allows every organization to innovate, to adapt to a changing world, to invent new and better experiences. Technology allows us to go after what we want, helps us relate to one another, and to more deeply understand the people around us. Technology is at its best when it helps us connect with our communities and ourselves. With technology, we can interact with each other and with the world around us like never before. We get to show up when we're needed, no matter where we are. We can get closer to the things we care about, to the people we care about. So how do we continue to build the future? How can we enable more trust, more secure experiences, power new ideas, work smarter? By saying yes, by listening, by making the most important thing the most important thing, by working together. So let's get started.
Hi everyone, welcome to the opening keynote of Oktane20 Live. We're excited to bring it to you. Obviously, with what's happening in the world today, terms like flexibility, adaptability are never more important. And the people, the dozens and dozens of people who have brought to you Oktane20 Live and this keynote in particular have been on hundreds of meetings that look just like this. I'm sure this is a view that's familiar to many of you. They've worked really hard to bring you this keynote and Oktane20 Live. We can't wait for you to see it. Outside the keynote, we have over 65 breakout sessions. We have more than 50 customer speakers. We have more than 20 people participating in the keynotes like the one you're about to see right now. And of course, we have over 35 sponsors. Oktane20 Live is not possible without our sponsors. Please visit them in the virtual expo. They have great stories to tell. They're great partners of Okta. In addition to all that, you have the ability to ask Okta experts, to visit the Okta Hub, to visit the Developer Hub, and of course, something near and dear to my heart and something we do every year, partnering with Okta for Good to help make change in our communities. I'd like to show you a quick video now of how Okta partnered with Donors Choose to help with a local school in the San Francisco Bay Area.
We're a really tiny school. The kids all know each other and they're very interconnected with each other. It kind of reminds me of a Sesame Street kind of school because we have the firehouse right next door. We have a park that we take everybody to.
All of our students receive free
lunch. So we are a high poverty community, and especially right now as San Francisco Unified is planning for big budget cuts, it's very challenging to provide anything except the basics, paper and pencils. And our students aren't getting a ton of that outside of school because their parents can't afford it either. So it's always a challenge to get the resources our students need to do their best. I use Donors Choose to get things for my class that aren't provided by the school district, which can be anything from a classroom library to folders to fancy paper. In particular, once a year we have Family Art Night, which is our largest family event at JSerra. About 100 families come out, and we have a bunch of different hands-on art projects.
For reading and being able to increase focus, it's really nice to have bean bags that you can take from a corner and put out so that the kids are separated from each other and they can kind of go into their own worlds and space.
I really enjoy volunteering, especially with Okta, because there are really big actions that we can do that make a really big difference to different schools and different communities that we are surrounded by.
We got here and we unpacked a couple different boxes with great art supplies, Mod Podge, little mosaic tiles, paint brushes, kind of cool stuff for the kids to kind of play around with at school. And I want to play with them.
Without the support of companies like Okta to let us do things like Art Night or even art in our classrooms, we really don't have a budget that allows us to get those materials. And I feel like art is integral to children, and it allows them to experience themselves as creative individuals, which is super important as they get older.
I love that video. It captures the Okta for Good spirit, but of course we can apply that spirit to something that everybody is facing right now, COVID-19. And so we're partnering with organizations like the CDC Foundation, like Direct Relief, the International Medical Corps, and hopefully we're partnering with you as well, because we're going to match your donations to these organizations. If you text GIVE to the number you see here or visit this link, you'll get all the information you need to help donate to these organizations. We all collectively can help in the efforts to combat and to deal with COVID-19. Now I'm really excited to introduce our keynote speaker. Todd McKinnon is our CEO and co-founder, and I'm excited about his keynote for many reasons, not least of which because we get to see a peek into his home and his living room. With that, I want to kick it over to Todd.
So now, first things first, I would like to say that our thoughts and our prayers are with everyone that's sick, and the friends and the family and the loved ones of everyone that is sick with COVID-19. Our thoughts and prayers are with you. And then also a big shout out to the true heroes out there, the healthcare providers that are dealing with this situation in a way that's amazing, with a lot of adversity and a lot of uncertainty. So our thoughts are with you, we're rooting for you, and if it's something, we'll do anything we can to help you, even if it's something like holding our conference in a virtual manner. We always say at Okta that we're the identity company that stands for trust, and that's never been more important than it is at a time like this. I talk to the company, and as a team, we rally around our three main priorities. Those are very clear to everyone. The first priority is the health and the safety of our team. Nothing is more important than that. That is our foundation. That is what will keep us successful in the short term and in the long term. The second priority is customer success. Our customers need us now more than ever. We provide a fundamental service in their environment, and we take that very seriously. So customer success, making sure that the service is reliable, the service is stable, it's secure as always, and we'll do whatever we need to do to continue and make customers successful. We'll go the extra mile during these times. And then the third priority is all about being agile and being flexible and adapting and doing whatever it takes to make customers successful, to make the company successful, and to make employees successful. And you're already seeing teams adapt to these scenarios. You know, it's not just Oktane that we switched to a virtual event format. We've switched over 6,000 marketing events and various functions to being virtual. We jokingly say that now, for the first time ever, we have an executive briefing center in Cupertino, California, where Sammy is doing executive briefings from his living room. It's amazing adaptability, keeping the customers informed, keeping the prospects aware of what's going on with Okta, keeping business moving forward. And it's not just that. You're seeing employees around the company come up with creative ideas, like Ryan, who is a CSM. He had the idea to take several of the, we bought a bunch of masks a bunch of masks for the wildfires in California a couple years ago. And Ryan had the great idea to repurpose those masks and give them to healthcare facilities about a month ago. And also leading up to Oktane, we bought more masks because we weren't sure if it was going to be virtual or a live event. So once we went to a virtual event, we shipped those masks out to local hospitals as well. So we're adapting, we're doing whatever we can to be successful and thrive through this situation. And it's not just us, it's our customers as well. We worked closely with the team at Federal Express to push their go live of 400,000 users up by 2 months as they were going to a more work from home model, and they needed Okta to be there for them. Or our great customer Experian, who pushed forward with their Okta deployment and their Okta usage in a way that was really unprecedented. And we were right there with them, working with their team to make them successful. So we're seeing that adaptability throughout the entire customer base. And it's not just the customers I mentioned. This is happening across all different kinds of customers. And I thought the first guest for Oktane would be great to have a conversation about how customers are reacting to this and how we're all learning to adapt in this situation. So I'd like to welcome to the stream my first guest. She's the Senior Vice President of Technology for Workforce. Please welcome Jill Parabovic. Thanks for joining us today, Oktane20.
It is awesome to be here, even though I'm here and not there.
Yes, that's what we're all getting used to. Speaking of interesting times, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. In many ways, I feel like I was born for this time. From like a company perspective, it's been an amazing shift. And we're at probably about between 95 and 98% of our workforce working from home, which is sort of unheard of in the media industry. So as difficult as times are, it feels kind of amazing to just all be together and functioning pretty well.
You know, when I think about Okta, working from home it's a shift, but it's not a massive shift. I mean, everyone has computers, we all have pretty good networks, and a good part of our workforce is remote anyways. How is it in media? Is it kind of like a dramatic difference for everyone, or in general, are people distributed and kind of equipped for this?
Honestly, it hasn't been that big of a shift. Probably the harder part is that last few percentage of the folks that are broadcast folks. You know, you think about our technical operations center, but we've found ways to make it, possible for those people to work from home as well. So this week we're in the home stretch and we will be at nearly 100% people working from home.
So talk a little bit more about Discovery. You guys were pretty early in your move to the cloud. Tell me about that transition, and tell me about maybe what were the dynamics in the organization that kind of gave you the permission to do that. It's an interesting story.
So the first push was to get all of our content to the cloud, to make our content supply chain run from there and give us the flexibility to be able to get that direct to consumer lined up so we can support our customers on any platform. So that was kind of the first push that we did. And then that secondary push is with our infrastructure, getting out of our data centers in 18 months, pushing all of that to the cloud to get out of the equipment, the location, the maintenance costs. And that really is just strategic vision by our IT teams, our broadcast teams, our distribution teams. And if I look at where we are today and our ability to work, remotely, really hats off to our network team and our infrastructure team for getting that all in place and providing us that foundation so that we have that platform to have everything else run off of almost seamlessly.
Yeah, we're seeing that with we're seeing with some customers that, the things they didn't expect to be issues, like just the VPN concentrator, right? They never use their VPN that much, or like I said before, even some companies aren't even lucky enough to have laptops for everyone. So it's great to hear that you guys have a leg up on that.
Well, and you think about VPN in our company, and the reason why we're just normal users of it is because we travel so much. So VPN is something that we've always had as a standard. Of course, there's people who don't necessarily use it that we've been training, but it's corporate wide, we have enough licenses to cover everybody. We were well prepared.
One of the things we do at Okta is we have this thing, it's called the Businesses at Work report, where we give information about what our customers use, what apps and what services, to try to help other customers kind of know what's what's powerful and what's working for customers broadly. What tools are you using? What other tools? We talked a little bit about your infrastructure, but what other specific tools that you're finding working really well?
And again, it's not like we had to make a big shift or move, right? These are things that we already had in place with that strategic vision of what we needed to do. And you mentioned laptops, right? Getting laptops in place. We started that in 2015. So having that so that we're ready to go there. Agile offices really brought us the ability to be more flexible. Tooling wise, obviously we use Okta, and it just works. It's been in place for us so that we don't have to worry about identity. Citrix and Global Protect allow us to have that kind of totality layer of security that allows our teams to be able to join remotely. And then when we talk about other tools that have really helped us, collaboration tools have been amazing. And really, we moved to Zoom in 2018 because we needed a platform that was going to provide us ease of use, but really good video quality, which we demand since we're a media company. And that tool, it's rare in IT that you get to roll out a tool that's just so widely adopted and has such organic growth that it's kind of amazing. And what's happened is our internal users are using it as a telephone, right? When somebody says, "Can I call you?" they mean, "Can I Zoom you? Can I see you?" Now it's just this great ability to leverage that tool beyond where we took it before and have, hundreds of people joining calls. So that's sort of the dynamic there.
I think it's really interesting. I think one of the kind of unforeseen benefits of this whole situation is I think, Okta internally, we will be more flexible with dynamic work and working from home and working remotely. We have a lot of remote people, but we're all pretty office centric, I would say, and this will help us, I think, move away from that. So, kind of stretching our legs on that motion, I think will be a benefit. Sounds like a benefit from that as well.
Us too, yes.
How are your customers? How are your partners? And how's the community at large doing through all this?
What's interesting, and we talk about staying safe, right? We are doing everything we can as a company to keep ourselves, our families, and everyone around us safe. And when we talk about our customers in the community and the things that we want to try to do for them, we've always been a soft place to land. You have HGTV, Food Network, Discovery, Animal Planet, Science. You have all these great brands available. And what we've tried to do as a company, being mindful of everybody being from home, is to pull up some more kid-friendly content during the day so that it's a place for kids to land. Parents shouldn't feel bad about their kids watching TV. Science is a great opportunity for kids to learn. So it's a great opportunity to sort of just share what we already have and expand on that. When tough times like this are presented, we always want to be there for our community, but it also allows us the opportunity as a company to really rethink what we're doing and do it in new, better ways.
It's amazing. It's inspirational. We really appreciate you joining us here on the Oktane20 live stream and sharing your story. Thank you very much for being a customer. We'll do whatever we can to help. We're here for you, so don't hesitate to reach out. And I look forward to seeing you next year, hopefully in person.
Yeah, that will be awesome. It's going to happen. Thanks, everybody. Take care and stay safe.
So we've talked about being agile and being flexible in the short term, but in the long term, our vision remains unchanged, and that is to enable any organization to use any technology. We can all agree that the short term is uncertain, but in the long term, we know that there's going to be more technology, it's going to be more powerful, and its impact on all of our businesses and all of our lives will be profound. So it's up to us to enable that technology to be simple to use, to make it be secure, and help you achieve your vision and your mission with that technology. Important part of that is freedom. In fact, freedom is the theme of this conference. Now, we all have a new appreciation for freedom these days, whether it's just the freedom to be able to leave our house or go to work. In the context of technology, freedom is about the freedom to choose whatever technology works best for you, to not be locked into a certain vendor or constrained to a certain platform. The freedom to build whatever you need to build to move your company forward, to build the best customer experience, the best mobile experience, the new digital environment, whatever you need to be successful. The freedom to connect with whatever you need to be able to do. And it's exciting because if you look at just what's going on in the last couple months, our customer base is really expressing that freedom. If you look at what's happening with the use of video conferencing and work from home, this freedom is really helping people. You see the stats, the usage of those kind of applications really skyrocketing. Or if you look at the way folks are using multi-factor authentication to secure those environments, it's going up as well. And what's making this all possible is this core concept that we have, which is integration. It's been something that's been incredibly important to us since the first days of the company 11 years ago. We wanted to build a pre-integrated system that would remove all the friction of all the other things you needed to connect to. So that's why we've built the Okta Integration Network. And it's by far the industry's leading integration network. It has the most integrations, it has the deepest integrations. We connect to not only applications, but networks and devices and platforms. Anything you need to be successful with technology, we connect to. And it's not just connecting to it today, but it's making sure that those connections are maintained and future-proofed so that any kind of technology you want to use tomorrow will be there for you in a frictionless, simple, and secure way. Another thing that's true is that with all of this technology and all the power of technology, the line and the demarcation between what is a technology company and what is not a technology company is really starting to blur. So we're at the point now where you are a technology company. We're all technology companies. And it's up to all of us to figure out how to use all this technology to provide the best experience for our employees, the most powerful experience for our customers, and generally connect the entire enterprise in a way that will help us be successful. Because if we don't, there'll be an upstart that'll do it, or maybe one of the other established players in our industry will do it. And we all need to be on the forefront of technology to make sure that we execute and we are successful with it. So what does that mean for how you think about your platforms? It means that your platforms become critically important, whether it's your collaboration platform, it's your customer data platform, or how you think about your employee data, or your infrastructure as a service. All these platform choices become very critical. And that's where the role of identity is really shifting and really evolving. In previous generations of technology, you got your identity system with another platform. It was your Active Directory and your Windows identity, or it was your Oracle identity with your Oracle applications. Identity was embedded in other platforms. And what we've done is we've really pulled it out and made it central. In fact, I would argue, admittedly I'm biased, but I would argue that your choice for an identity platform is more critical than all the other platform choices you're going to make, because your identity platform is going to connect people and secure people into all the other platforms, whether it's infrastructure or collaboration or HR or customer data. So it's a critical platform choice. And it's also an evolution of how we've thought about building Okta over the years. When we first started, we had this foundation of integration with the Okta Integration Network. We were really early and innovative with that. But we also, the approach to building the product was it would be very purpose-built for different scenarios. So it'd be simple to get going with scenarios, but sometimes they weren't as flexible and you couldn't change them as much. And our thinking on that has completely evolved to the point now where we are building a platform. That's our focus and that's our mindset. We have to build a platform to really meet the needs of this new era of technology. So what does that mean when we think about building Okta? First off, it means it has to be very flexible and very powerful. So it has to work for every type of user in your environment. Not only every type of user, but also across every device. The devices you have today and the devices of tomorrow. As devices evolve, as we all know, they inevitably will. And it has to work for every type of use case. So whatever scenario you need to have people or devices interact with any other platform in your environment, the identity platform has to model and has to allow you to support that use case. It also has to be programmable. Platforms are programmable. So you have to be able to, beyond just simple admin configuration, you have to be able to program and tell it what to do so it can meet all those use cases. And it's not good enough just to support code. It has to support code that IT might want to write. It has to support the code the security team might want to write. Even business users, what do they want the platform to do? It has to support that as well. So you think about code, it has to work with people that are professional programmers, pro code, low code in the IT use case, or maybe even no code in the business user case. These are all requirements of a platform. So that's what we're building, the Okta Identity Cloud. We think about it in these terms, and that's our goal in terms of how we think about the product and how we think about the architecture. It's the world's leading identity cloud for workforce in a highly neutral and highly flexible way for your workforce identity use cases. It supports customer identity in a very secure and scalable way, and enables you to do this all while implementing a zero trust security framework, which is critical in the open networks and the flexible work environment we all need. So for my next guest on the Oktane20 stream, I'd like to welcome Jeremy Butcher from Apple, who runs enterprise product marketing at Apple. Thanks for joining us today, Jeremy.
Glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
Interesting times in the world. How are you doing?
We're doing pretty well.
So to get started, why don't you tell us a little bit about your role at Apple?
Sure. So I work in a group called Product Marketing, and we are basically, we sit in between the customer and the engineering organization. So when we're out talking to customers, we're representing all the great work that our engineers and designers have done. And when we are in talking with our engineering teams and designers, we're representing the voice of the customer, giving them feedback on, the direction that we want to head.
That's great. That's great. As we were preparing for Oktane, one thing that we noticed looking through some of the data is that Mac usage is actually really on the rise in our customer base. In fact, it's growing twice as fast as Windows usage.
Yeah.
What is that, when you hear that, what do you think about that? Does that surprise you? Is it what you're seeing other places?
It feels like a lot of the work that we've been doing kind of paying off. So early days of Apple and enterprise was really, kicked off largely by iPhone being brought in by executives, kind of saying, hey, make this work to their IT departments. We saw that, and I think we responded quite a bit with a lot of enterprise features over the years. And that rise for iPhone and then iPad is really what we see Mac benefiting from at this point, because we kind of share that really common core from an operating system perspective. It allows us to have, similar security stories, similar management stories, similar identity story. And so as Mac is gaining popularity, the IT heavy lifting is largely, done by iPhone and iPad. So it's awesome.
What's it, when Okta being an identity company, we're obsessed with identity. If you internally at Apple, when you guys talk about identity, what's the conversation like? Is there kind of a common concept of what it means, the importance? I'm just curious what it's like from an insider's perspective.
Yeah, I think we've seen a lot of the same, trends or changes that you've seen, and in large part you've probably driven as more and more things move to the cloud. Protecting everything with just a VPN is not sufficient. And what has really evolved, and again, I'm telling this to you like you don't know it, but is, identity becomes that kind of center point. So as folks want to log into different things, what better way to make sure they are who they say they are, and they should have access to what they are trying to get access to, than by having them prove their identity. And so we've thought about it for a number of years now as something that we want to have really tightly integrated into the operating system, so that the experience can be really seamless for the user. They sign in, as few times as possible, and they get access to the things that they should have access to with the security and manageability that IT, wants and demands. So we see having a tight identity story is really a win-win for the end user and the IT department.
Yeah, we think about one of our core things is integration. Yeah. And how it's ironic that we're an identity company, and I think if we do our job, ultimately, identity will be so integrated into everything, it'll just kind of disappear.
Yeah. I think we share that vision for sure. Especially as I know, a big area of focus is reducing prompts. It's an interesting thought to say the thing that we do the most, we want to be the most invisible. Yeah. We kind of, if you think about even something like iPad, that's actually kind of part of the vision we have for iPad is We want it to just turn into whatever it is you want it to be at any given moment. We want you to not be thinking about the interaction that you're having with the technology because it's so transparent.
Yeah, it's powerful. It's amazing. So one of the interesting things about your perspective as well is that you work for the preeminent platform company in the world. First of all, does Apple think about itself as a platform company? Is it that kind of mindset, or is it articulated differently?
I think ultimately you'll hear us refer to ourselves as a product company.
Yeah.
We want to make. I think we say this in our press statements and things like that. We want to make products that enrich people's lives. I think mostly because that kind of encapsulates the whole experience. It's really user centric, and it's the thing that we all know to go look for, to ask for, in terms of how to have that experience. So there's definitely a platform component to it. You look at something like the developer conference every year. Developers are a huge part of the overall experience. But when we kind of talk about it publicly, it's much more of that kind of product-oriented description.
So let's talk a little bit more specifically about your investments in identity.
Sure.
What do you guys have going on there?
So the biggest thing that we've done recently is at WWDC last year, our developer conference, we introduced a new single sign-on extension that is essentially API for identity providers like yourselves to take advantage of, build a kind of client-side application across iPhone, iPad, Mac that allows for identity to be really, like you said, integrated in all of the different experiences across different apps. And so instead of having to implement different authentication mechanisms in every app that you go to, instead of having to sign in multiple times, the idea is you go to an app, your extension as an identity provider gets invoked by the system. The user can log in using your technologies. And then as they move from app to app, they're essentially signed in at the operating system level to, again, have like the best of both worlds from an IT and end user perspective. I'm signing in less. IT knows a whole lot more about each session that I enter into as I move around my device. So that's what we did last summer. And it's kind of what we're really trying to push as much as possible because we think the improvement in experience is so dramatic.
Yeah, we're really excited about it. And we're later on in the keynote, a little bit of a teaser. We're going to have some exciting announcements that'll tee up some features that we've built around that capability that are really powerful.
Yeah,
well, listen, it's I love how you articulated about focusing on the product and focusing on the user, because we think that together, companies like ours working together can really make a better end user experience and make technology easier to use and make, really have everyone benefit from it. Yeah. Well, listen, it's great to work with you and with Apple. We're excited to do a lot more things in the future, and we really we appreciate you joining us here on the stream. Stay safe, take care of yourself.
You too.
And hopefully next year it'll be in person.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, man. Take care.
We're building the world's only identity platform. It's integrated to everything. It's secure, it's scalable, it's reliable, and supports all the use cases you need. You access these use cases through our workforce identity products, which enable your employees, your partners, your contractors to access all the technology they need in a simple and secure way. And our customer identity products, which enable you to build secure digital experiences for your customers. So we're building a platform, so there's an important layer underneath all these products that make it all work. This is just like other platforms. Think of operating systems, which have core services for display management, for memory management, or for networking. Or an infrastructure provider, which has a service for compute, for storage, or databases. The Identity Cloud is no different, and we call these platform services. These services sit below our products and perform important common capabilities and functionality across different products. There's 6 of these services, 3 of which you're familiar with, and 3 that are new today. The directories service is the core of our Universal Directory product and our lifecycle management products. It stores user information, application information, it's a flexible schema, and it scales to all of your use cases. The integration service is the heart and soul of the Okta integration network. You can use APIs, templates, and toolkits to create integrations, to maintain integrations, and share them across the community. The insight service is all about data. All the data generated on the Okta service is collected by the insight service and then provided up to our products to provide valuable features to you. We've talked about some of these features in the past. These are things like threat insight, which gives you the ability to block malicious IP addresses based on attack patterns across the entire Okta cloud. Or health insight, which gives you personalized, customized security setting recommendations based on best practices across the Okta Identity Cloud. Or user insight, which monitors user activity and using machine learning blocks malicious activity and notifies the user so they can take action appropriately. The next platform service is something we've talked about before, but we've greatly expanded its use across our products. 18 months ago, I challenged the team to give you the freedom to customize. What they did is they took the core building blocks of the Okta service and exposed them to you as reusable, customizable components. This is the Okta Identity Engine. And initially, when we talked about this last year at Oktane, it was all about customer identity. We beta tested this past summer and learned a lot of important lessons. The first lesson was that it was powerful, and it really helped address various use cases for customer identity. The second lesson was that we really needed to make this broadly applicable across both workforce and customer identity products. So we spent the past year reworking the workforce identity products to use the Okta Identity Engine service. This is definitely a case of taking one step back to take many steps forward, and at times we've had to delay feature delivery or change our plans, but now that we've done that, the innovation going forward will be amazing. With the Okta Identity Engine service across all of our products, you get benefits like app-level policies, so you can control application branding, required fields, required factors, down to the individual app level or to the group of apps. So the power when you're managing big collections of applications is really unprecedented. You have flexible account recovery. One of the biggest feature requests we get are the ability to use different factors besides a forgotten password question to reset or to enroll for other factors. So with Identity Engine, you get the flexibility to use any factor to enroll or to reset any other factor. So it really gives you the flexibility and the security you need. The final benefit here is around integration ecosystems. So we built Okta hooks into the Okta Identity Engine, and what's happened is there's been really interesting integrations built around that. Things like identity proofing, things like bot detection, things like consent management, biometric factors. The innovation is really, really impressive. And since these are all built around hooks and Identity Engine, by applying Identity Engine across workforce products and customer products, you get the benefits of these ecosystems and this innovation across our entire product portfolio. This is a big upgrade, and we're making sure we take our time and doing it right to make sure there's no unforeseen impacts. So we're beta testing this now, and Identity Engine across all of our products will be available in Q4 of this year in early access. We're building a platform, and platforms are programmable. So imagine what would be possible if you could write a program based on any action or any event inside Okta to do exactly the process you wanted to have happen. So maybe you want to copy some data into Salesforce, you want to move some files around based on a new user being created or a user being changed, or you want to send a message on Slack. Well, that is exactly what's possible with the Okta Workflows platform service. And the best thing about it is that it's a visual environment. So you don't have to write code. You can point and click and drag and drop to write your process. So what this means is it's not just developers. It's also IT administrators, it's security people, it's business analysts. The people that actually know the process can connect to Okta and write that process in Okta. So it's the best of both worlds, the power of code with the knowledge of people that have the process. So how are we going to make this available to everyone? Well, the first focus of the Okta Workflows service is in our advanced lifecycle management product. So within that product, you can do really detailed, comprehensive user onboarding. The same for user offboarding, application provisioning. You can do things like manage complex naming requirements and naming collisions. Maybe different data stores have different rules and you want to specify a specific process to take advantage of that. You can do that with Okta Workflows. Okta Workflows is generally available now, so if you have the advanced lifecycle management product, you can take advantage of these capabilities today. And since it's implemented as a platform service, over time, we'll make this available across the entire product portfolio. You can imagine the use cases for customer identity that can be unlocked with the workflow service. Or security, you can automate security response. The list goes on and on. So seeing is believing. So now I'd like to welcome the demo team, Nick and Danielle, to take us through some amazing demos of this capability.
When we look at our most successful customers, eliminating manual tasks with automation is a big theme. The various disparate spreadsheets and docs, the custom code and inconsistent processes open companies up to security risks and slow them down. That's why we're excited to show you Workflows, which allows you to automate identity-centric processes without code. By creating if this, then that style flows, integrating technology central to your business and automating tasks across it, like deprovisioning a user and transferring their files, is super simple. So let's jump in. For this demo, I am Pam Beasley, an identity admin at Dunder Muffler Car Company, and I'll be walking you through a provisioning workflow like the one you see here on the screen.
And I'm Dwight Schrute, a new sales rep for Dunder Muffler.
I want to make sure Dwight feels welcome and ready to go on his first day, so I'm going to build him a simple flow that gives him access to everything he needs by navigating to Workflows, which is available straight from the Okta admin console. Really easy to jump into. And I'm going to be creating a sales onboarding flow, and since I already have a US employees onboarding flow here, I'm just going to duplicate this existing flow, which will save me a bit of time. All right, so I'm going to quickly rename this to onboard sales. What we're doing in this flow without any code is kicking off a number of automatic actions when a user is activated in Okta. We call these little modules cards. The one on the left here is the one that triggers the flow. It kicks off everything that happens. So in this case, when a user is activated in Okta, we're looking to see if that person is a US employee. If they are, we're sending them a number of welcome messages through different apps. You can see Office 365 Mail here and Slack here. And you can see the message that we're sending here, which is quite easy to duplicate across apps. We're also adding the person to the correct team channel in Slack. All right, so I want to make this a sales onboarding flow, which means I'm going to kick it off a bit differently. So I'm going to go ahead and delete this card and choose a different event to kick off this flow. I'll choose my Okta connector from the list of many connectors that I have here. And you can see there are a ton of Okta events that will kick off a flow. User app password changed, suspicious activity reported, but I want to kick off this flow when a user is added to a group in Okta. So I'm going to choose that option from the list. And I will need a few pieces of information about this user. I'm going to drag his ID over here. And I want to continue the flow if the person is a member of the sales group, and not if the person is a US employee. So I'm going to go ahead and say that the group name needs to be sales. Easy enough. All right, so welcoming somebody is great, but I want to make sure Dwight is successful during his first month at Dunder Muffler. So I'm going to create an onboarding checklist for him automatically via Google Sheets. You can see I could do that with Excel here. I could also take a lot of different actions in many different apps, but today I want Google Sheets. And I'm just going to copy an existing onboarding spreadsheet that we already use for all of our sales employees. Save me just a bit more time. So I'll choose that template from the list here. All right, I am going to personalize this to Dwight a little bit by dragging his name into the spreadsheet so he knows it's his checklist and nobody else's. And the last thing I want to do is make sure that it's easy for him to find. We're already sending him a welcome email, so I'm just going to drag that URL over to the messages that we're sending him on his first day, so he'll be sure to have it at his fingertips whenever he needs it. The URL is just the link that he clicks on to get to the spreadsheet. All right, so this flow is ready to go. I'm going to turn it on. And then I'm going to navigate over to Okta's Universal Directory, because if you remember, adding a user to a group is what kicks off this flow. So I'm going to go ahead and add Dwight to the sales group, and we are off to the races.
All right, so I want to hit the ground running on my first day here at Dunder Muffler, and I'm logged into my dashboard with all my apps, and I also see this button to go to a new interface. So I'm going to click on that and oh wow, it's a very slick interface. I like that. I'm going to get started by clicking on the Slack app here, and it looks like it's logging me in with just one click. And I feel like I'm now going to have to figure out all the different Slack channels that I'll need to be added to, but oh, it looks like I've automatically been added to this worldwide field sales chat, and there's already a bunch of people saying hi. That's great. I've also got this message from the admin welcoming me to the team and also giving me a link to this Google spreadsheet. Let's see what that is. If I click on that, it looks like it is a personalized onboarding checklist for my first 30 days with a list of things I need to do in my first month. That's super helpful. It's going to really help me get started. Okay, now if I go back to my dashboard here, I'm now going to check to see if I've got any mail waiting for me. So I'm going to sign in to Office 365. And sure enough, I've got this email from my regional manager sending me a nice welcome note, linking me to that same Google spreadsheet, and also giving me an inspirational quote. I feel so welcome here at Dunder Muffler.
I'm glad I could create a great first day experience for Dwight, but he's always trying to become assistant regional manager, so I'm not sure he'll stay with Dunder Muffler forever. I want to make sure he can be safely deprovisioned if he decides to leave one day. And while Okta has always allowed me to safely deprovision people, as you can see here, Workflows allows us to go much further. So here, when a user is suspended in Okta, we're creating an alumni identity for that person based on their personal email. While I want to cut off access to some things, I want to retain access to others, like ADP, so that people like Dwight can see W-2s and pay stubs and other important documents after they leave. Then I'm going to go ahead and transfer his folders to his manager, obviously Michael Scott. Here I'm doing that in Box, but you can imagine we could do this with many different apps. Microsoft Office 365 for email, Salesforce for leads, and much more. Then I'm waiting for 15 days and assigning the user to ADP with their personal email. People like Dwight won't have access to his work email anymore after they leave, so this will ensure he can get into that Alumni Portal and sign into ADP and get those important documents after he leaves. So this flow is ready to go. I'm going to turn it on. And it kicks off when a user is suspended in Okta, so I'm going to head back over to Dwight in Universal Directory, and I'm going to suspend him. Now that I've done this, you'll be able to see that a few things have occurred. When I look up Dwight in Universal Directory, you can see he now has two identities. One based on his work email, that one is suspended, cutting off access to mission-critical apps, just like we want. Another based on his personal email. That one is active and it'll give him access to that Alumni Portal. The other thing I want to do is jump over to Box and make sure that his folders and files were successfully transferred to his manager. So I'll scroll down to Michael Scott here, and it looks like his files are right where they're supposed to be. Every single step in this flow used to be manual work for my team, and this is a far faster and more reliable alternative. I'm not nearly as worried that we'll open ourselves up to security risks by letting things fall through the cracks like I was before.
Things did not work out for me at Dunder Muffler, and I hate when I leave a company and then I have to search through emails and paper mail to try to find important documents like tax documents and old pay stubs. But here in my personal email, I've just gotten this email from Dunder Muffler HR giving me access to this Alumni Portal. When I load that up, I see that there's a link here to ADP where I'll be able to access my final paycheck, W-2, and other tax documents in a couple of weeks. That's great. Now I don't have to reach out to HR to get access.
The demo we just showed around workforce lifecycle management workflows is now available to customers in GA, which is really exciting. For the next demo, I'm going to be showing some forward-looking use cases meant to illustrate just one of the many places workflows could go in the future, and that's customer identity. Workflows gives us the ability to change fast without changing code, and our vision is to make workflows available anywhere you expect rapid changes, custom code, or manual work in identity. Because our customers have the same high standards as our employees. Any barrier to easy sign-up on our online store means they're less likely to make a purchase down the line. On the flip side, if they're not able to request to have their data deleted, or at least to see the data we're collecting about them, they're likely to lose trust in our brand entirely. So for this forward-looking demo, I'm still Pam Beasley, and I'm going to set up a registration workflow that adds extra security by identity-proofing our customers.
And I am Mose Schrute, and I'm in the market for a high-performing beet harvester that's also not going to damage the environment. And I'm browsing Dunder Muffler Car Company's website here. I've I've come across this new Tesla tractor. This seems like it's exactly what I'm looking for. So I'm going to go ahead and start to register here. I'm going to enter my first name, last name, my email, and I'm going to allow them to send me some promotions and updates in case there's any good deals. And I'll also check this box to agree to their terms and conditions. All right, ready to continue.
And I want to make sure that when new users like Mo's register for an account online, a process that's already powered by Okta on our website, they go through the right flow. So here you can see that when a user registers, we're creating them in Okta and porting over their consent preferences that they logged when they registered as attributes inside of Okta's Universal Directory. We're also creating that person as a lead in Salesforce. We're porting over those consent preferences there as well, because our marketing team is going to want to send them relevant emails down the line, and this will make it very easy to add them to the correct email lists. Safe authentication is also really important to us here at Dunder Muffler. It's our policy that we identity proof our customers to make sure they have a valid driver's license before purchasing a vehicle. We're doing that with an Okta partner Evident ID right here.
So it looks like Dunder Muffler needs a few more pieces of information for me to complete registration, including submitting my driver's license to get validated, which makes sense because I'm purchasing a car here. Just want to go ahead and upload a scan of my driver's license and submit that. Okay, and it's also now asking me to verify my phone number so they can keep my account secure, enrolling me in two-step verification. So I've just submitted my phone number here, and on my mobile device, I just got a text message with that 6-digit code to verify and enroll. Great, now I'm ready to buy my tractor.
We're thrilled Mo's is buying a new vehicle from Dunder Muffler, a tractor no less. But he just gave us a fair amount of personal information, and I want to make sure that we respect his privacy. So I've created a flow to make data download easy for both our privacy and compliance teams as well as Mo's if he happens to make that request. It kicks off when a user requests a data download from a Preference Center page. Here we're connecting to that page through an API. This used to be hours of manual custom code for my team, so this is much simpler to do it through this card. Then in our Okta partner, DataGrail, we're sending over a request to download the user's data. DataGrail automates data privacy and compliance requests like data download and deletion. Then we're going back to DataGrail and checking in on the status of that request. And based on that information, we're logging a row in a Google spreadsheet that has a few pieces of information. First, the status of the request, whether it was successful or a failure. The second, the legal framework the request is subject to, CCPA, GDPR, any other legal framework that pops up in the future. And third, the user's identity. This is going to be really convenient for our privacy and compliance teams when auditing time comes around. And it's great that we've built this flow, but I want to make sure that it's ready to go when users like Mo's request a data download from a Preference Center page. So for my own peace of mind as an admin, I'm going to go ahead and test this flow. All right, you'll see from the green check marks that are appearing in the top right of the cards that each of these cards is executing successfully. And we have a log of that success over here on the right. If there were an error, we would see that, and we would be able to jump into that error and see exactly where it occurred, as well as which card it actually occurred in so that we could go troubleshoot if we needed to. But for the purposes of today, this flow is ready to go.
So I've been reading some news articles recently that say I can now request to access my personal data from companies that I've worked with. And I'm really curious what Dunder Muffler Car Company has on me, since I've submitted some pretty sensitive data to them. So I'm back on their website here, and I'm going to navigate to this account settings section, where I can see some data privacy preferences here at the bottom, including the ability to download my data or request to delete my data. So I'm going to click this button to download my data, and it looks like a text is being sent to my mobile device, which I just got here. And this is just to validate that this is, in fact, me trying to download this. So I'm going to go ahead and enter that in and click verify. I appreciate that they do that because I really wouldn't want someone impersonating me trying to download all of my data. And now when I head over to my personal Gmail account, I've just gotten this email from the Dunder Muffler privacy team, giving me a link to download all that data. I really appreciate how easy they made that, and it really makes me trust that Dunder Muffler is being responsible with my data.
And Okta Workflows allowed me to automate so many manual processes across both workforce and customer identity. I'm just going to take the rest of the day off and go paint with my new watercolor painting set that Jim got me for our anniversary.
Thanks, Danielle. Thanks, Nick. It's great to see the impact workflows can have for Dunder Muffler and the impact it's going to have for all of our customers. My next guest is from NTT Data. It's a 120-year-old company that's using technology in innovative ways to push forward.
NTT is an amazing, very storied company, almost 120 years old, an excellence in innovation and really using technology to solve client challenges that they face in their individual businesses. So NTT Data has the privilege of working with 85% of the Fortune Global 100. Part of our expertise is being able to look across many different industry verticals, solve challenges in unique ways, and help use that as inspiration for what comes next.
Steve, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you, Todd. Looking forward to this.
Yeah, thanks for being such a great customer, and it's been great to work with you.
Pleasure for sure. I appreciate everything Okta's doing. Got a great partnership going.
So NTT Data is a big IT services company, among other things. So you're helping companies with their cloud migrations, retire legacy infrastructure, and generally solve really complex technology challenges. What have you learned from that?
So I think the biggest thing that we've learned from this is there is definitely no one-size-fits-all solution to this. And there are a lot of different ways to approach the identity landscape challenges that exist. One of the most important elements is finding a partner who can truly give you that flexibility to answer many different problems, but off of the backbone of one very competent solution. That's one reason why we find Okta to be a perfect fit for our environment.
So can you talk us through a little bit more how you, when you work with customers, some of the common things you see and how you approach those problems?
Sure. I think one of the biggest challenges that we find commonly throughout the customer base that we have is there are so many teams involved with this identity challenge, from HR to legal to talent acquisition, sometimes outside recruiters, of course, IT and information security, and everyone has a different view of what makes identity real for that particular group, but also the company itself. And I think a challenge that we all face is how do we have a common language set or a vernacular as we start tackling this challenge and start bridging across how do we bring continuity to that identity flow, trying to take away the manual process, the heavy lift that teams tend to have, but also they're very error prone. And so one of those pieces that we look forward to is being able to use Okta's workflow to really solve that in a very seamless, very automated way. And of course, there's the human change element to that as well. How do we make sure people understand very clearly, here's what the yesterday's world looks like, and here's what today's world could look like, and getting them through that whole pace of engineering, understanding the business flow, putting that into an automated tool, and frankly, taking a lot of the burden off of those teams and letting them focus on more human problems.
When you think about we talk a lot about platforms and the attributes of a platform. When you think about Okta as a platform, how do you think about the balance between flexibility and the ability to program Okta to do anything versus more out of the box pre-canned flows? How do you think about the balance between those two?
Great question. And to a large extent, I think one of the powerful parts is that you can choose both, and finding that nice balance, as you put it, between how much customization do I really want to do versus how many of the out of the box Okta supported ways could we accomplish a lot of these tasks. The better part about kind of removing the customization is most people have entrenched themselves very heavily in whatever their legacy process is. And I think the challenge is they find it very problematic to maintain both the discipline around the code, the testing as the vendor does upgrades to their particular product set, and of course, as the business itself changes. NTT Data, for example, does a fair amount of acquisitions in the industry. So even if we thought yesterday we had a very good answer for how does NTT Data want to onboard or change or walk through the offboarding process for its people, the next acquisition inherently changes that.
So the more we have a vendor-supported automated workflow, the less work it is on our teams to go back through, try to re-engineer that process, test it, validate it, and ultimately get it back into production for that new team. So I do think that's one of those common conversations we have with our clients, but also internal to NTT, of making sure we have that fine line balance between capability of our own customization, but also trying to keep that as minimalistic as possible and enjoy the power that Okta brings to the table.
One of the things we're excited about with Okta Workflows is the visual environment. So different people besides just developers can create the process. As you've worked with the product, how realistic is that? Have you seen people that aren't down in the weeds, developers or identity folks, be able to add to the process?
Great question. Yes, absolutely. So thinking through one of those powers of low code, no code, kind of visual development, if you will, the workflows have been incredible for that regard. Taking a talent acquisition person who's worried about what are the right requirements for this job, talking to those candidates, but then being able to turn around very easily and say, here's how I would have approached that problem on the phone or through our existing tools, and being able to drag and drop literally code snippets to be able to do that same element inside a workflow has paid enormous dividends for us. We don't have to worry about finding time with the dev teams or finding the right kind of Q&A person. A visual, low code, no code style environment like Okta's bringing to the table with workflow has been an enormous enabler for our teams that aren't necessarily technical.
How do you think about as you make the identity process seamless and more integrated, how do you integrate that with security?
Trying to make sure that we can answer the security model in a very ubiquitous one NTT style of approach has been very powerful. And a lot of that comes off the backbone of looking at that workflow, understanding in a very simplistic visual way, to your point earlier, how can I identify what I need to do, where the security elements live, how I would actually do audit and attestations off the back of that to make sure the processes are working as expected, becomes very simple when you have a common platform to do that. And I think that's given us a lot of trust and speed as we make this transition across literally hundreds of companies. It's quite complex, and it's nice to have that simple view to make people comfortable.
NTT Data works with many of the largest companies in the world, helping them with their IT challenges. What are some of the interesting trends that you're seeing in your customer base that may help inform how you're thinking about the internal technology and IT at NTT Data itself?
Great question again. The operating
That's
technology. So you're on a roll. Thinking of OT, and a lot of our clients, especially in the manufacturing space, are looking for ways to integrate their portfolio of truly older, non-human style automation, taking advantage of that digital transformation that may be appropriate for their industry. And a lot of that means we can't actually assign identity or manipulate authentication expecting a human on the other end of the keyboard, or really just using yesterday's ideology of how we would challenge people to interoperate with our systems. And a lot of our clients are starting to see that same demand as they move from, say, a human who maybe yesterday did data entry for checks or some particular payment methodology, being able to automate that with true either custom development on their own or bringing in another piece of solution that could clearly do that job as a business process or robotic process. But having a common system like Okta to be able to tie that together and give you a digital identity that meets both a human and non-human element, that's been very powerful.
That's great to hear. Well, Steve, we really appreciate you taking some time from your home. Take care of yourself and your team and your family, and stay safe out there. And hopefully next year we'll get to meet in person.
Sounds good. Thanks, Todd. I appreciate it.
I'm really lucky to have the opportunity to work with Steve and the entire team at NTT Data. Their perspective on platforms and heterogeneity and how to make it all work together in a secure way are really informative to me. My next guest has an interesting perspective on this as well, but from a slightly different take. It's from a vendor take versus a customer. Please welcome to the Oktane live stream, the VP of Product for Chrome OS at Google, John Miletus. John, welcome to Oktane Live.
Thanks, Todd. Good to see you.
To get started, maybe you could tell the viewers on the stream a little bit about your role at Google and your charter.
Yeah, sure. I've been at Google for about 12 and a half years now, leadership roles in various different products, businesses, from ads to Google Fi to photos. Now I lead product management, engineering, and UX for Chrome operating system. So we design the operating system and work with a lot of OEMs and ODMs to build Chromebooks.
How do you think about when you're working with Chrome and Chrome OS, you're building a platform. How do you think about that versus some of the other work you've done at Google that may have been more on the app layer or other layers?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I mean, when we set out to build Chrome OS, we were really trying to take a modern approach and a cloud-first approach to the way that we believe computing should work for consumers, for employees at companies, for students. And the biggest difference between some of the other areas I've worked on in this area has been we're building a platform, and we have a huge partner ecosystem, whether that's OEMs or working with retailers or ODMs, and really need to balance the needs of each of those partners and make sure that ecosystem is humming in unison.
How does identity fit into that?
Yeah, we talk a lot about identity, do a lot of work in this space. I think a few of the things we've seen as more and more workloads have been moving to the cloud and towards secure endpoints like Chrome OS, it's become clear that a lot of the legacy systems are just not built to support this. And so another thing that we hear a lot from our customers is they want more choice in the solutions, particularly in the identity space. And I think that's where Okta has been incredibly strong. And they want more choice in the solutions to support and secure these new ways of computing.
When you guys think about the strategy for Chrome OS, how do you look at the use cases customers are commonly deploying, and then how does that inform your strategy?
We see adoption of Chromebooks amongst cloud workers across the full spectrum. If you think about within a company, kind of frontline employees, these are field workers. They're on the go. They need access to their device, access to data in distributed locations. Or you think of front of house employees in retail, financial services, healthcare, who are really trying to increase customer engagement. And then an area that I probably couldn't have said that we had a lot of solid use cases for in the past couple of years is that the information worker. But as more and more companies and their core information workers are spending their time on the web in SaaS applications, they're finding that Chrome OS is a great fit for what they're trying to do. Over the last few weeks, with COVID-19, we've been seeing, many companies have been forced to work from home, and we're starting to see a very unique set of use cases. One of a good example would be customer support. So companies are sending their employees home with Chromebooks, and they're able to very quickly get up and running and support their customers from home. And I think that's a use case that a lot of companies had talked about wanting to do, but never really got to it. Now they're kind of forced into it, and guess what? It's actually working. They like it, and I think we're going to start to see some of these use cases persist over time.
So, what should customers expect from us working together in the year ahead?
Yeah, I mean, short answer is a lot. We're really excited about the large investment and the innovation that Okta has put into place to support Chromebooks with things like passwordless experiences. If you take the Okta, premier identity, cloud identity provider, and Chrome operating system, the only operating system really designed and built for the cloud. I think, and Todd, you and I have spoken about this, I think the opportunities are absolutely endless for us. But ultimately, I think the way I would sum it up, what you should expect from our two companies in 2020 and beyond is to make it just incredibly easy for employees to pick up any device and validate access to security. So that's no longer an exception, and that you're actually increasing productivity while being secure, as opposed to being secure kind of at the expense of productivity.
It's music to my ears. We've talked a lot about Chrome OS. Where does the Chrome browser fit into this?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the browser, Chrome browser has become a critical destination for where people go to get work done. I mean, a lot of our customers, I'm sure yours are saying this as well, and our shared customers are saying that, 50, 60, 70, sometimes 100% of their employees are working in the web, in SaaS applications. So that increased importance has also placed a major importance for IT admins to fully manage and secure their browsers.
Yeah, it's a big part of the interface I personally use, and at Okta we use it extensively internally. So we love the focus there.
Yeah.
Well, John, I really appreciate you joining me today. It's great to work with a great company like Google and with your team to bring security and client device and browser together in a seamless experience for end user.
Great. Thanks so much, Todd. Really appreciate it. Have a great event and stay healthy.
To deliver amazing user experiences and keep things all secure, you need freedom from device constraints. Your identity should follow you from your phone to your laptop to apps and websites. Imagine if you could just use Face ID or Windows Hello, and all the apps and websites you need to be productive just knew who you were. But unfortunately, that's not how things work today. And imagine if your security team could set one security policy for the user, and that policy would follow them around and change based on the different devices they were using. That's not how things work. The closest our industry has gotten is with Active Directory, but that's legacy technology, only works on premise and with Windows clients and Windows servers. Try getting that to work with mobile. No way. What we need to do is we need to pull identity out of the device and centralize it. And that's just what we're going to do. We're going to set you free with Okta devices. Okta grew up a cloud company, which means we're very good at integrating with cloud applications and using web protocols. But we haven't focused enough on devices. We do have things like device trust, but they've been too limited. With cloud taking over the world and everyone moving to a zero trust security model, integrating your identity platform tightly to devices is incredibly critical. Okta is now embedded on every device. Your company's technology stack is heterogeneous. It's up to you to keep it secure and simple to use across the breadth of technology. To embed Okta on every device, we're releasing brand new versions of our Okta Verify app for both iOS and Android. And for Mac and Windows, there'll be new Okta Verify apps that run as background services. What these do is they give you all the additional security context you need to make the best access decisions possible. This is what's required in a zero trust world. You need to know if the device is managed, unmanaged, if it's a known device, if you've seen it before, and if the device is secure. And once you have this context, you can make security policies down to the individual. You can do things like make a rule that says if the user wants to access the company wiki, they can do that from any device. But for the finance system, they have to have a device with the latest operating system version and a device that has not been jailbroken. Now, there's an entire industry around endpoint management products, and we know you've invested a lot in these. So as you'd expect, we're partnering with these vendors. Endpoints is already a strong category on the Okta integration network, and we have integrations with all the leading vendors there. Now, the additional kinds of integrations that are enabled by this is integrations with security vendor. So we can ingest new types of signals, things like, is the device encrypted? Is the firewall disabled? Is there malware? To give you much more capability to make policies around this. Now, our strategy on devices is to pull identity out of the device and centralize it in the Okta Identity Cloud. This will give you more flexibility and control. There's a whole industry around securing and managing the endpoint, and we're not trying to reinvent the wheel there. We're going to leave that to our partners. The Okta Devices Platform Service is going to be in early access in Q4 of this year. The additional device context signals I talked about around security depend on the Okta Devices Platform Service, so those will be available in Q4 of this year in early access as well. Now I'd like to welcome my next guest to the Oktane live stream. Sanjay Poonen is the VMware COO. He's the perfect person to have a conversation with around devices, around platforms, around technology. So please welcome to the Oktane live stream, Sanjay Poonen. Sanjay, welcome to Oktane. It's great to have you.
Pleasure to see you.
Sorry it has to be remote.
We are in shelter in place. I hope you and your family and all of our friends at Oktane are doing well, but the show continues.
Hey, when you talk to customers, what are you talking with them about in terms of enabling this remote work? Well, also, everyone I talk to, they're concerned about security as well. So when you talk to them, what do you talk to them about balancing those two things?
So a lot of our customers are many of them are hospitals, schools, universities, retailers. These are folks who are on the front line and the brunt, many of them, in helping with the crisis. So as we listen to them, we got to make sure things like our digital workspace technology, virtual desktops, just continue to work really well. And then they need to potentially add capacity, add more endpoints. And then what we've sought to do with any of these endpoints that come in with, need for endpoint management and virtual desktops is augment it with endpoint security that we have with Carbon Black and networking technologies like load balancers and SD-WAN.
Yeah. It's interesting to hear that perspective. When you think about the VMware strategy, you mentioned a little bit about the 5 strategic pillars. I imagine that it's pretty impressive how you guys have expanded from virtualization, of course, and server platform to management and then networking. How's it going on the endpoint? I know that's been a big focus for you over the last several years.
We began a transformation of that business to really kind of move a lot more to the 2 vectors. This is way back in 2013 that I saw as important, which was mobile and cloud. And we took a lot of our stack virtual desktops to a cloud-based, what would be called as desktop as a service. We acquired AirWatch and really became the leader in not just mobile device management, what's now called unified endpoint management. And we saw a vision where people were going to be, looking to access their apps from work. And we needed to not just do some of that ourselves, but then build partnerships like the one with you, because identity was going to become a very important part of that. I was very keen to build this partnership with you because our customers were asking us for the best capabilities. At that time, AirWatch, now Workspace ONE, integrated into Okta, big, large customers. And you have been very focused on customers too. So we're delighted to just see this go to the next level.
It's really interesting, the different parts of your business. How do we talk a lot about at this conference about building a platform and how it's important to integrate with different things. How do you think about first of all, the synergy between the endpoint business and the virtualization business and the other parts of the business? And then how do you think about which areas you build out versus which areas you partner in?
It starts with the core infrastructure of VMware, which has nothing to do with the endpoint, but you have to start with our roots, which is being a infrastructure for a multi-cloud world. So we are the household name in the private cloud data centers. We've now built very good partnerships with Amazon and Azure and GCP. And those are very important because those were potential threats to us, and we've turned those headwinds into tailwinds. So that's number one, multi-cloud. We've built on top of that an app modernization layer with containers, acquired a few companies like Heptio and Pivotal and become now a leader in that category. To facilitate multi-cloud, we built a cloud networking business that I think long-term, there'll be only 2 companies that matter networking, us and Cisco. And then that covers the entire part of the infrastructure. Once you're done with those 3, the 2 areas that now start to cover the endpoint and the end user are this digital workspace and endpoint security. And you have to kind of take a little bit of a breather because once you've kind of covered the infrastructure, you have to move to the employee and have a vision of what you're trying to do to transform the workplace. And we called it a workplace transformation mission, and then asked ourselves, there's an element of it that's digital workspaces like what we're doing with Workspace ONE, and there's an element of it that's security that ties together what we're now doing with Carbon Black and then partners like yourselves.
Yeah, it's very well said. And you talk about covering all those scenarios and those use cases. We're really excited about what we're doing together, which is really tightly integrating the authentication and the authorization with from Okta with the deep signals and intelligence and management on the device with Workspace ONE and Carbon Black. So how does that fit into the endpoint strategy for you?
Yeah, we identified a couple of areas in security that were very interesting to VMware, some on our own and some through partnerships. They were network security, endpoint security, identity, cloud, and analytics. And I laid that out at my RSA keynote. And a few of those, like network and endpoint, we're going to do ourselves. And yeah, we will compete with some players there. But in identity, we're going to partner with players like you, which are become a very preferred. And then we go deep by taking our technologies. In some cases, it's partnerships like NSX with Zscaler. In your case, it's Workspace ONE and going deep with Okta. And then when Carbon Black came in, there's a lot of that rich telemetry and event breach data they collect. They're architected for the cloud, a very thin sensor and a big data lake in the cloud that fits also nicely with you. I made that a priority. I said, listen, Okta is a partner of ours. We're going to extend what we did with Workspace ONE also to Carbon Black. That team got it. We've completed that. That's part of the announcement we're making now with you folks. And any place else that you're innovating, I tell our teams, let's listen to Todd's product management roadmap. Let's share with them ours. And if there's a little bit of overlap, that's not the big picture. The bigger picture is we want to win together with customers.
Yeah, and I think that last thing you said about customers is really important. Customers want their platforms to be tightly integrated. They want to take the best of the security, the intelligence, the signals, the context, and use it across, not only their endpoint management, but also their identity provider. So I think the combination together is going to be really great for customers, and then the rest will work out well for us as well.
I agree fully. When we stay customer focused, I know you've been that way. I can text you or email you. I happen to have CIOs who's telling me go work more with you guys. You operate the same way. Maybe I can ask you a question, Todd.
For
You're
sure.
very good at asking me one question. Because I always want to learn. How have you kept your company focused on speed?
I'd say there's a few things. One of them is I try to really cut out process where process is not necessary. The second thing is I just try to set an example of speed. And if you ask something or you want something to happen, don't set an example by saying it's going to be 3 months before we're going to meet and talk about it again. And then the third thing I would say is you can think about from the product architecture and the technical architecture, you kind of have to invest to make sure that you don't have a bunch of technical debt that slows you down. Try to modularize, try to componentize, try to break things into services, set an example of speed and then decisiveness, and then also remove process wherever you can. Again, it's easy to say, harder to do.
We're all learning. And listen, I think if you could combine sort of a cheetah and an elephant, which is speed and scale together, we'd all be great companies. But us larger companies, we get a thing or two about scale, but we always can learn from the folks who've been able to. And I think for me, what's been amazing about your story is—
Yeah, thank you. It's nice of you to say.
Being able to do this sort of David versus Goliath. You're fighting some big Goliaths, and you've made yourself very successful. It's a great story. You and a few other companies are up in my book of companies we admire.
All right, Sanjay, it's been really great having you on, and hopefully next year we'll be able to do it face to face.
I count on that, and I look forward to our continued friendship. Thank you, Todd.
Thanks for the partnership, Sanjay. Appreciate it, man. The Okta Devices Platform Service is enabling innovation across the products. A few of those key capabilities are limited access. So this allows you to specify per user a subset of access that they can have inside of an application like Salesforce or Workday. You now can have device visibility inside of Universal Directory, so you can see a full roster of devices, operating system, device posture. And finally, remote sign out. This gives you the ability to sign out a user per device, not just at the entire session level. This rounds out zero trustability of our platform. These capabilities will be available across various Okta products in the coming months. The good news is that limited access is available now. You can get this capability inside of our advanced multi-factor authentication product. The device visibility and remote sign-out have a dependency on the Okta Devices Platform Service. These will be available in early access in Q4. Now, our last announcement is going to blow you away. It's the result of combining 3 of the platform services we've talked about: the directory, the identity engine, and Okta Devices. 2 years ago, I was sick and tired of entering passwords, having my sessions expire, responding to multi-factor challenges. So I challenged the teams to make it all go away. Remove all the friction, make it simple, make it easy to use while keeping it secure. And it was interesting, as we built this capability, we would have conversations and it would go something like this. Me: hey, is it passwordless? And the team: well, yeah, it's passwordless. Well, except when you have to enter the password into Okta. Me: is it passwordless? The team: well, yeah, except when you have to respond to an MFA prompt after your session expires. Me: hey, is it passwordless? The team: yeah, except when you have to enter a password on your iPhone. So the conversations went on until the joke became, is it passwordless or is it Todd passwordless? Well, after a lot of hard work, I'm very excited today to announce that now we all can benefit from Todd passwordless. We call it Okta FastPass. It enables passwordless authentication across everything you need to get your job done across all major devices. It works with everything connected to Okta, apps, desktop apps, mobile apps, and works across all major operating systems. FastPass eliminates your organization's dependence on Active Directory, and it works across personal devices and company-owned devices. So how does it work? Well, the core of it is our Okta Devices service. That acts as an authenticator and collects device context. Our directory service holds the enrollment of these devices, while our Identity Engine service coordinates the overall workflow and makes sure it's simple to use for end users. Your users are going to love this. Your IT teams and your security teams are going to love this. We've taken identity out of the devices and set them free. Okta FastPass will be early access in Q4 of this year. You'll be able to use it in our single sign-on product, our One App product, and our Enterprise product. You'll also be able to have advanced controls of FastPass from our Adaptive Multi-Factor Authentication product. Now, to unveil it to the world, let's welcome Nick and Teju.
It's no secret that all organizations, ranging from a few hundred to a few thousands to hundreds of thousands, are in a constant battle between security and usability. And it's no secret that passwords contribute to this battle. On one hand, passwords are familiar and easy to deploy, but on the other hand, we know that compromised credentials continue to be one of the primary reasons for a data breach. So how do you deliver a great experience for end users while still minimizing dependencies on directories and on-prem infrastructure? This is why we're excited to show you the use cases enabled by Okta's Devices Platform service. So let's get started. For this demo, I'm Teju, an employee on the sales team at ATCO.
And I'm Nick, an admin for ATCO. And using Okta's new Devices Platform service, we now have a unified view of users and devices in our organization. And here on the Okta dashboard, I can actually now navigate to this new Devices section, where I can see a list of all the devices that have registered with Okta Verify, some of which are managed, some of which are unmanaged. And this year at ATCO, we have an initiative to streamline access to all critical resources from any device. And using Okta's new Access Policies module, I've created a couple policies to a few applications to allow for passwordless authentication for any device that is registered with Okta Verify, whether they're managed or unmanaged. So let's see the power of Okta FastPass. Teju is a remote employee based in London, and we've shipped her a Windows 10 device that is managed and pre-enrolled with Okta Verify, but it is not AD domain joined. We've also sent her some instructions on how to get started. So Teju, why don't you show us how easy it is to get up and running?
ATCO IT shipped me this new laptop a couple of days ago and sent me some instructions on how I can get set up. Now, I've already set up Windows Hello on the device as well as a profile on the device. And of course, the next thing that I want to do is start accessing all of my applications. So what I'm going to do is start by logging into the machine using Windows Hello. And from here, I want to start accessing all of my applications. It looks like IT has already pushed down a desktop shortcut for me. So I'll go ahead and click on that. And it looks like they've also pre-configured for some settings for me, so I don't need to enter anything on the Okta Verify app here. So I'll go ahead and click Next. And then on the next page, it looks like I need to enter my username. So I'll go ahead and do that. And then to finish up the device registration process, I don't need to enter any passwords. I just need to provide that same Windows Hello factor that I used to log into the device to finish up the device registration. So let me go ahead and do that. And then once that's done, yep, it looks like my device is all registered. When I head back to this Okta Verify application, my account is there, and now I'm ready to start accessing all of my applications. Now it looks like IT also pushed down a desktop shortcut for me, so I'm going to double click on here. And yep, I'm logged in, no passwords required, and it looks like they even pushed down a new dashboard for me. So that process was so easy that I actually want to message IT on Slack and let them know how it was. So I'm going to open up my Slack desktop client here. It's already installed on the device, but I haven't logged in yet. So I'm wondering if I can get that same passwordless experience on the Slack desktop client that I got when accessing my dashboard. So let me go ahead and put in my workspace name here. Then I'll choose to sign in with Okta. And then from there, without being prompted for any passwords, I'm signed directly into Slack. Super easy.
All right, now let's prove that this was done on a non-AD joined device. Teju, can you go to your computer settings?
Yep, sure, here it is.
All right, you'll see here that it is managed by VMware Workspace ONE with no AD domain associated with the device. And when I head back to Universal Directory here in Okta, I can search for Teju. And when I click on her, you'll notice that there's this new tab here called Devices. When I click that, I can see a list of all the devices that she has registered with Okta Verify, including that new Windows device. Now, we need to also enable this experience on mobile devices. We ship hundreds of iOS and Android devices to our global workforce. And so, Teju, why don't you show us how we can get that same passwordless experience on mobile?
So I have my phone here that IT has shipped to me. They're managing the phone. They've already pushed down some applications to the phone. But I haven't logged into all of these applications yet. Usually this is a very annoying process for me because every single application asks me for my username and password. So I'm hoping that's going to be different this time. So let me open up the Salesforce application. And similar to what I saw on my laptop, I'm not prompted for any credentials and I'm signed right into Salesforce. Again, really easy.
So we've seen this passwordless experience on a managed Windows device, a managed iPhone, but what about an unmanaged personal device? Teju, why don't you give it a shot on your MacBook?
Now I have my personal MacBook here that I use from time to time to access email and a few other applications. I've already logged into Okta Verify on this device and registered the device, but I don't want IT spying on me, so I definitely don't want it to be managed. But I do want to start sending some messages on Slack, and I've already installed the app on this machine, but I'm wondering if I can get the same passwordless experience that I've gotten on my managed devices on this personal one. So again, I'll put in my workspace name, choose to sign in with Okta here. Looks like, again, it's checking information about my device. And from there, logged right into Slack, again, without being prompted for any passwords. So to recap what we saw here, Okta FastPass enables passwordless experiences on any device, regardless of the directory or endpoint management tool that's being used. This means end users get an end-to-end passwordless experience, whether it's logging into the device, the first time they registered their device to Okta, and subsequent logins on that same device. You can also now view users and devices in Universal Directory, for the first time giving admins a single console to see those user and device bindings. These capabilities help organizations modernize in a phased manner and ultimately move towards a world where users do not have a password at all.
Okay, so we've seen the user experience benefits of Okta's Devices Platform service, but it also enables a critical component of a zero trust security model based on user trust and device trust. And here at ATCO, we've configured Okta's Devices Platform service to ingest device context from endpoint management and endpoint security vendors to better align that user experience to the risk. All right, so the first feature that we're going to take advantage of here is Okta's limited access feature, whereby we are going to restrict access to sensitive areas of Salesforce when that device is unmanaged. And so the first thing we need to do is configure Okta to communicate that device management state to Salesforce. And here in the application settings, you can see that we are sending a SAML assertion to alert Salesforce if that device is trusted, and it should be considered a high assurance session. And then over in the Salesforce app, we have configured some policies here to block access to certain areas of the application, such as the reports and dashboards, when that device is not managed. Let's see what that looks like for Teju.
So like I mentioned earlier, sometimes I use my own machine to access applications. Salesforce is my go-to application for accessing customer and prospect information. And I know we made some changes to the solutions that we offer for customers, so I wanted to start by checking that out. And then the other thing that I wanted to take a look at was how I'm doing for my quota on this quarter. I'm going to head over to the reports here. And oh, wait, it looks different this time. Usually I'm able to get to these reports on my other laptop, but it's telling me now that I have insufficient privileges. And actually, now that I think about it, I know IT did mention that my device needs to be managed in order for me to access this type of information.
Well, we'll have to deal with that later because I'm getting an email from my CISO asking me about this rise in USB drop attacks that are loaded with ransomware. And she wants to know how we're protected from this. Now, the good news is we use Tanium to protect our endpoints, and using Okta's new security integrations, I've actually already configured a policy to deny access to corporate resources when that device is infected with malware as determined by Tanium. And knowing Teju, she's not going to be able to resist the temptation to put one of those USB sticks into her machine.
Okay, so I was just on a walk outside and I happened to find this USB stick. I'm curious to see what's on it, so I'm gonna go ahead and plug it into my machine here. And oh, sweet, it looks like I can get some free Netflix passwords. Definitely wanna open that up. So let me go ahead and do that. And, oh wait, maybe I shouldn't have done that. It looks like all my documents are encrypted. I owe some people some money. I'm not really sure what to do from here, but I'm hoping that IT can help me out. So let me go ahead and go over to my dashboard and send them an email. And, oh wait, it looks like I'm locked out of all of my applications. And I actually just received an email from IT on my phone. They're letting me know that my device needs to be re-imaged because they found some malware on it. That was definitely my bad.
So to recap what we saw here, Okta's integrations with apps like Salesforce and endpoint management solutions like VMware Workspace ONE allow us to create granular access policies based on managed versus unmanaged devices. And to take that one step further, we're now able to set access policies based on signals from any endpoint security vendor, such as Tanium. Because Okta's Devices Platform Service embeds Okta on every device, we're able to minimize that battle between usability and security across our entire device fleet.
Nice job, Nick. Nice job, Teju. It's great to see all that capability come to life in a demo like that. Our platform investments are really starting to pay off. And the best part is we're set up for a path of innovation going forward. Okta, our customers, and our partners can all use these services to unleash all kinds of innovation and address the use cases that you need. Let's review what we've covered today. Identity Engine allows you to customize and tailor your access experiences for your workforce or your customers. It enables key features like app-level policies or flexible account recovery. Okta Workflows lets you take complete control in a programmable way of the user onboarding process, making it simpler, making it easier for IT. And also the offboarding process happens exactly like you need it to in a very secure way. Okta Devices pulls device identity and identity out of the client operating systems and centralizes it in the Okta Identity Cloud. It enables key capabilities like limited access, device visibility, and remote sign out. And then there's magic when you combine these platform services together. You get the industry's first passwordless experience. Okta FastPass works across all devices and all operating systems. Your users are going to love it, and it makes you more secure. And now it's time for our final Oktane Live guest. She's been with me for the entire ride of Okta and even before. I've spoken about her on the stage before, but she's never had the chance to appear. So please welcome my wife, Roxanne. Welcome.
Thanks.
It's nice to have you.
It's nice to see you.
What's shelter in place been like for you?
Well, I mean, it's been not too bad for us, honestly. I think we're doing what we can to prevent the spread and thinking about all of the people who have to be out there, healthcare workers, grocery store workers, all those essential services.
Yeah, well said. What's it like to deal with the Oktane20 filming?
Yes, we have had to be really quiet around here while we shelter in place.
Well, I really appreciate it. So you've been to many of the past Oktanes. I've talked about you on stage. You've never had a chance to appear. What's your best Oktane memory?
Well, obviously, seeing you meeting and backstage and seeing you interview President Obama was amazing.
It wasn't in 2015 when I announced contextual access management?
No, I think I missed that one. But one of my other favorite Oktane memories was the second Oktane, which was in San Francisco at the St. Francis, and I went with my brother, Michael. Neither of us are tech people. We had no idea what you were talking about, but the audience was pumped and cheering, so we were cheering. And it was a fun conference, and it was also pretty neat because it was in the same ballroom that you and I went to your senior prom together. So yeah, that was kind of fun.
Actually, the reason I wanted Roxanne to join me is because we're very excited to announce that we are personally donating $500,000 to the Okta for Good COVID-19 Relief Fund. And it's the fund we've set up through Okta for Good. And we're going to personally donate $500,000. It goes to various charity organizations which are helping with COVID-19 relief across the communities and in the world. And also, if you guys donate, you can see the information on your screen. If you donate, we'll match each donation from you dollar for dollar. So your donation can be doubled to the Okta for Good COVID-19 Release Fund. So thanks for joining me. Now I'm going to do something I've never done with an Oktane guest.
Yeah.
And that is that I love you.
Ah.
Thank you.
Sure.
As we wrap up today, I would like to say thank you. Thank you for attending the keynote. It's been fun to bring all this, the great content to you. And I want to say thanks to the entire team that was really behind putting this on. The demo team did an amazing job, really under pretty challenging circumstances. And to the entire team that's putting on the whole Oktane Live conference, they've been through a lot, and we're really proud of what we have to show for you. So, as I mentioned at the start of the show, my top 3 priorities are first, the health and safety of the Okta employees, their families, and the extended Okta community. Second priority is making sure we focus on customer success. And the third priority is be agile and flexible to adapt to this changing world. So we have a lot of ideas on how we can help, but we need your suggestions. So send me an email at tmckinnon@okta.com. I'd love to have your feedback, your suggestions on how we can do more to help. I mentioned earlier the Okta for Good COVID-19 Relief Fund. We're also making sure that all of our Okta for Good donation activities or Okta for Good employee volunteering activities can continue while online. So if you or an organization you know needs volunteers, feel free to contact us for information on how to access some of our volunteers. If you need, another thing we've done is we've made a version of our product available for free, Okta for Emergency Remote Work. So if you think that could help anyone that you know is adapting to remote work, let us know and we can help you with that. And stay safe out there, and next year we'll hopefully get to see each other in person. So the last thing we're going to do is a little bit of an Okta tradition. When we have a company meeting or we need to get psyched up about something or we want to celebrate something, we have a song. So we're going to sing a song, and this is a sing-along. So it's really important that you join me in this song. So here it goes. Da 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 da. Here comes the sun, da 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 da. Here comes the sun, and I say it's all right. Da 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 da. Little darling, it's been a long, cold, lonely winter. Little darling, it feels like years since it's been here. Here comes the sun, do-do-do-do-do. Here comes the sun, and I say it's all right. Da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Little darling, the smile's returning to their faces. Little darling, it seems like years since they've been here. Here comes the sun, do-do-do-do-do. Here comes the sun, and I say it's all right. Da, 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 da.